Paris is a city defined by its surface, grand boulevards, white limestone facades, and a carefully curated elegance that has made it a global icon for centuries. But beneath the feet of the crowds, below the foundations of the metro and the sewer lines, lies a second city. It is a world where the maps are incomplete and the silence is absolute. Beneath the Rue de la Tombe Histoire, 80 feet down in the darkness, lies the final resting place of more than 6 million people. This is Les Catacombes de Paris, the catacombs of Paris. Officially, it is known as l'ossuaire municipal, or the municipal ossuary. This is not a traditional graveyard. It is a massive, industrial-scale relocation of human history. It is a subterranean maze of ancient quarries repurposed by a city that found itself unable to cope with the sheer volume of its own dead. Tonight, we are descending into the darkness. We are looking past the tourist paths and into the grim reality of a city that was forced to exhume its past to save its future. Welcome to the portal, where myths, nightmares, and mysteries are just one step away. My name is Epoch, and I will be your guide. To preserve the light, we must first face the dark. To understand why the catacombs exist, we have to look at the state of Paris in the late 18th century. For nearly 1,000 years, the central city was serviced by a single primary burial ground, the Cimetière des Innocents, Cemetery of the Innocents. By the 1780s, the cemetery had become a threat to the living. The ground was so saturated with remains that the earth had literally risen 10 feet above the surrounding streets. The soil was no longer earth. It was a concentrated mass of decay. The stench was so powerful that local businesses struggled to operate, and the groundwater was becoming a lethal hazard. The situation reached a breaking point in 1780. After a season of heavy rains, a basement wall in an apartment building bordering the cemetery gave way. It did not collapse due to a shifting foundation. It was pushed in by a massive, moving weight of human remains that flooded the cellar of the building. The city was literally overflowing. The authorities realized that the traditional parish graveyards could no longer function. They needed a place to store millions of bodies, and they needed it immediately. They turned their attention to the hollow spaces beneath the city, the centuries-old limestone quarries that had provided the stone for the cathedrals and palaces above. They decided that the only solution was a total, systematic evacuation of the city's graveyards into the deep. If you have watched this far, remember to subscribe, like, and comment what would you like to see next. In 1786, the work began. It was a massive logistical undertaking that took nearly 2 years to complete. To avoid public panic and out of respect for the dead, the move was conducted in total secrecy under the cover of night. Every evening at sunset, black-draped wagons moved through the streets of Paris. They were accompanied by priests who chanted the office of the dead as they made their way from the city center to the outskirts. The wagons were loaded with bones, stripped of their original caskets and separated by type. They were taken to a central shaft and dumped 80 feet into the tunnels below. At first, the bones were simply left in chaotic piles, but as the ossuary grew, a sense of order was imposed on the chaos. A government official named Louis-Étienne Héricard de Thury was tasked with organizing the remains. He saw an opportunity to create more than just a storage facility. He envisioned a monument to mortality. Under his direction, workers began to stack the femurs and tibia into solid, geometric walls. They used the skulls to create decorative patterns and borders, turning a mass of disconnected parts into a structured, architectural facade. When you walk through the catacombs today, you are seeing a mask of order. Behind those walls of bone, millions of smaller fragments are packed into the voids of the earth, anonymous and forgotten. The area open to the public is a tiny fraction of the total network. The tunnels beneath Paris span nearly 200 miles. Outside the gated tourist sections, the environment changes. The lights disappear, and the air becomes stagnant and heavy. These unmapped tunnels are a dangerous, unstable environment. They are prone to flooding and sudden collapses. The limestone is porous, and in the deep sections, the moisture causes a constant rhythmic dripping that is the only sound you will hear for hours. This is the world of the catapholes. These are modern urban explorers who enter the tunnels illegally, seeking a connection to the city's hidden history. They navigate through flooded passages and narrow crawl spaces, documenting a world that officially does not exist. But the danger of the deep tunnels is real. In the total absence of light, the human brain loses its sense of direction almost instantly. The tunnels are repetitive, curving and branching in ways that make it impossible to maintain a straight line without a compass and a detailed map. If your primary light source fails, you are plunged into a darkness so complete that it becomes a physical weight. You are 80 feet underground, surrounded by millions of tons of stone and the remains of 6 million people. In that environment, the silence is not peaceful, it is oppressive. The most famous warning about the dangers of the tunnels is the story of Philibert Aspairt. In 1793, during the height of the French Revolution, Aspairt was a doorkeeper at a local hospital. For reasons that were never fully clear, he entered the quarry tunnels alone. He took only a single candle to light his way. He was never seen alive again. It was not until 11 years later, in 1804, that workers found his remains. He was identified by the hospital keys still attached to his belt. Most tragically, he was found only a few hundred yards from a known exit. He had likely spent his final hours wandering in circles, feeling along the cold stone walls in absolute darkness, unaware that salvation was just around the next corner. In more recent years, a video camera was discovered in a remote section of the tunnels. The footage showed a man who appeared to be lost. As the recording progressed, his movements became more frantic. He began to run, his breathing heavy and panicked, as if he were being pursued by something the camera could not capture. Eventually, he dropped the camera and disappeared into the shadows. No body was ever found. No identity was ever established. The footage remains a disturbing record of what happens when the isolation of the tunnels finally breaks the human mind. At the entrance to the ossuary, a sign warns the visitor, "Stop. This is the Empire of Death." It is a stark reminder of the reality beneath the streets. Paris is a city built on its own ancestors. Every grand palace, every metro station, and every cobblestone street is held up by the silence of 6 million people. We look into the history of the catacombs to understand the relationship between the living and the dead. In most places, we hide our mortality behind fences and headstones. In Paris, it is woven into the very fabric of the earth. The dead are not gone. They are simply a part of the architecture. The next time you are walking through a beautiful city and you feel a sudden localized chill in the air, or you hear a muffled sound from beneath the pavement, remember what lies below. The city above is bright and loud, but the city below is vast, ancient, and very, very still. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this journey into the Paris catacombs important, subscribe to the channel and join our community. If you would like more content about specific cases regarding the catacombs, leave a comment below. Good night, and try to stay on the path.
Let us now step back into the portal and go to our segment of time and space. If you would like to see a longer video about what we went through today, or if you would like to see another specific video, leave it in the comments. Feel free to check any of our previous voyages on screen. My name was Epoch, and I will see you again on one side or the other. Farewell.